Hi, Mrs. Rocha here. We are going back to Wayside School, and I believe I'm going to read two stories today because they're a little bit short. The first one is called DJ. There he is. He looks like an interesting character. DJ skipped up the 30 flights of stairs to Mrs. Jewell's room. He was grinning from ear to ear, from nose to chin, from here to there and back again. "Hey, DJ," Todd shouted. "Glad to see you." Todd was a pushover for smiling faces. Mrs. Jules heard him. She began to write Todd's name on the board under discipline. But when she saw DJ's smile, she put down the chalk. "Good morning, DJ," she said. "What are you so happy about?" DJ grinned and shrugged his shoulders. Mrs. Jules smiled. Damien looked at the smile on Mrs. Jules' face, then at Todd's, and finally at DJ's. Then Damien smiled. His smile was almost as big as DJ's. They were best friends. Once they saw the two of them smiling, the rest of the class couldn't help but smile. Rondi had a very cute smile due to her two missing front teeth. Nobody had an ugly smile. Jason came to school late. He was very upset. But the first thing he saw was Damien's smile, and he felt a little bit better. Then he saw Rondi's toothless grin, and he even began to smile a little himself. But when he saw the piano on DJ's face, he fell laughing onto the floor. Everybody started to laugh, even Kathy, and she hardly ever laughed except when someone hurt themselves. The whole room seemed to be laughing, not just the people in it. The blackboard chuckled. The ceiling snickered, the desks went jumping up and down, and the chairs were slapping one another on the back. The floor was very ticklish. It laughed until the walls turned purple. The waste paper basket started to sing, and all the pencils stood up and danced. Are you visualizing? Can you imagine what that would all look like? Finally, things began to settle down. Mrs. Jules wiped her eyes and said, "DJ, why don't you tell the class why you're so happy? At least let us know what we're laughing about." But DJ just kept on smiling. "Aw, come on, DJ," said Dee Dee, "tell us." DJ didn't say a word. He couldn't. His mouth was stretched out of shape. "Let us guess," said Ron. "If we guess right, will you tell us?" DJ nodded his head. His smile began to hurt his ears. Everyone took one guess. "Have you been swimming? Is it your birthday? Are you in love? Did you get a green ball?" Nobody guessed right. At recess, DJ was still smiling. Lewis, the yard teacher, called, "Hey, DJ, come here." They walked to the far corner of the playground where they were alone. "What's up, DJ?" Lewis asked. DJ just smiled. "Come on, DJ, you can tell me. Why are you so happy?" DJ looked up at him. He said, "You need a reason to be sad. You don't need a reason to be happy." Good point. And can you believe that's the end of the story about DJ? That wasn't anything too crazy. I mean, the classroom got a little bit crazy with all the laughing and pencils dancing and all. But that's pretty good. That's something good to think about. You don't need a reason to be happy. You can just be happy. Choose to be happy. We're going to read one more chapter, and this one is called John. Why don't we, think about what we learned about DJ, then we're going to think about John, and then we're going to see if we can compare the two, okay? All right. John had light brown hair and a round head. Round head. He was Joe's best friend. John was one of the smartest boys in Mrs. Joel's class, but he had one problem. He could only read words written upside down. Nobody ever wrote anything upside down, but it was only a little problem. John was still in the high reading group. He just turned his book upside down. It was easier for John to turn his book upside down than to learn to read correctly. But the easiest way isn't always the best way. Mrs. Jules said, "John, you can't go on reading like this. You can't spend the rest of your life turning your books upside down." "Why not?" asked John. "Because I said so," said Mrs. Jules. "Besides, what happens when I write something on the blackboard? You can't turn the blackboard upside down." "No, I guess you're right," said John. "I know I'm right," said Mrs. Jules. "You're going to have to learn to stand on your head." John couldn't stand on his head. He had given up trying. You would have too if you had fallen over as many times as he had. Joe was John's best friend. He could stand on John's head. Every time John fell over, Joe stood on his head. After all, what are best friends for? That's what I always say. "My head is too round, Mrs. Jules. I can't stand on it," said John. "Of course you can, John," said Mrs. Jules. "If he can stand on your head, so can you." "It's easy, John," said Joe. "I can't," John repeated. "I always fall over." "Nonsense," said Mrs. Jules. "All you have to do is find your center of balance. Now, up you go." John put his round head on the floor and swung his legs up. He fell right over. Then Joe stood on John's head. "See, John, it's easy. Nothing to it," Joe said. "We'll help you, John," said Mrs. Jules. "Joe, get off John's head and get me the pillow from under my desk. Nancy, Calvin, come here and give us a hand." Sounds kind of crazy, right? Mrs. Jules took the pillow from Joe and set it on the floor. "All right, John, we'll surround you," she said. "We won't let you fall." John put his head on the pillow and swung his legs up. He started to fall one way, but Nancy pushed him back up. Then he started to fall another way, but Calvin straightened him out. John kept falling a little bit this way and that, until at last he found his center of balance. Uh-oh. Now look, this is kind of funny, guys. Look at the print up here now. Starting over here. It's upside down. Let me see if I can read this. I think I have to turn the book upside down. And it says, "Hey, look at me, look at me." Said John, "I'm up, I'm really up. I'm standing on my head. I found my center of balance. It's beautiful. I can read the blackboard. Hey, Calvin, bring me a book. And you don't have to turn it upside down." Ha ha ha, hey, who? Ah. Back to this way. Bam. While Calvin went to get the book, John fell flat on his face. "You better stay off my head, Joe," he warned. "Are you all right, John?" asked Mrs. Jules. "Yes, I think so. I feel a little funny. Hey, I can still read the blackboard, and I'm not upside down. I can read right side up now. When I fell, I must have flipped my brain or something." "That is wonderful, John," said Mrs. Jules. "Here, put the pillow back under my desk. As a reward, you may have a Tootsie Roll Pop. They are in the coffee can on top of my desk." John placed the pillow on top of her desk. Then he looked under the desk, but he couldn't find the Tootsie Roll Pops anywhere. Did Mrs. Jules say the Tootsie Roll Pops were under her desk? No, she said they're in the coffee can on top of my desk. So, what do you infer is going on with John? Maybe it switched something else around. Now he's confusing on top and under, right? Okay, so we just finished reading about John. That crazy guy right there. So how would you compare him to DJ? Think about that. Send me a message on Class Dojo or in Google Classroom, and I'm going to give you extra dojo points if you can Compare John to DJ. Tell me one way they're alike and one way you think they're different. Have a great rest of the day, boys and girls. Remember that I care about you. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye.